Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. As you see, I am outside again. We're doing another outdoors video because I'm trying to spend at least like an hour outside every day if possible. And I just thought it would be a good time to finally update my YouTube channel about, you know, life and all that good stuff. Obviously, as you know, there's been a lot of crazy stuff happening, and there's been a lot of very devastating, upsetting, and deeply problematic things happening between coronavirus and just repeated cases of inhumanity and police brutality in the middle of a pandemic. And these are things obviously that have been going on for so much longer than just during coronavirus, but it's especially just disheartening when you think about the fact that even in the middle of this insane pause that the whole world's had to go on for a deadly disease, that there are still people out there who are, you know, committing murders on tape and getting away with it. So in better news though, we are seeing that a lot of people who have never gotten involved in activism in any way before are all coming together. We're seeing these protests throughout this country and the world, and it's really been amazing watching that happen. And I will say, as I've said many times already on all of my social media, please make sure that you're wearing masks if you're out protesting. But it's been really exciting to see that happen, and like to see people that you wouldn't necessarily expect actually getting involved. And you know, we can all do our part to get more involved. So I would encourage you, if you have not done that yet, start thinking about doing that, because we all need to work together. This is a problem for all of us, and I think that there's a tide turning right now, and it's really exciting. And for some it's pretty scary, but the outcome is actually something that we've desperately needed for a really long time, and it's really good. So I just wanted to make sure that I mentioned that, because it seems kind of stupid to talk about anything else right now when there are such important things happening. That being said, we are going to talk about something kind of silly today, just because, you know, that's also needed at all times. So sort of to take the stress off for 2 nights in a row while working on jewelry and art, I decided to revisit a couple of movies. One being a pretty terrible movie, and one being a beautiful but not really super amazing movie. I don't know. Basically, I decided to rewatch 2 Gothic movies. One being 1985's Sting movie called The Bride, and the other being Crimson Peak. So we watched, my roommates and I watched The Bride together. They had never seen it before. I've seen it several other times. We watched it together first, and I had forgotten a lot of things about that movie, like the fact that it's just solidly cut up into 2 completely different universes, completely different storylines, different vibes, different everything. Like on the one hand, you have this like very brooding Gothic story of, you know, Dr. Frankenstein creating his monster and then making a wife for the monster, and you know, all of that with all your typical Gothic kind of stuff. There's a, you know, a castle, and there's storms and beautiful costumes and horses and brooding and yearning and things hidden behind moving bookshelves and all that good stuff. Then on the other hand, you have this storyline that's like a buddy story, which is the actual monster making friends with this guy who wants to become a circus performer, and they like go to Budapest in quotation marks to join the circus. And it's like actually very wholesome and heartwarming. Like they become really good friends. The monster starts to learn about like love and feelings and friendship, and they make this really cool circus act that kind of gets ruined because of some not so nice people in their circus. That's all I'll say. I don't want to spoil it for you, since you know you're going to be rushing to watch this movie from 1985. But the tone of that part of the movie was so just wholesome and sweet and surprisingly really nice. And you you just keep getting thrown back and forth between them though. It doesn't have like a lot of continuity, and like the parts with the monster and his friend have lots of dialogue and it's clever, it makes you laugh, it makes you feel something. And then the parts with Sting don't really have that much dialogue, and it's mostly just the brooding. So I would say for pros for this movie, the costumes are pretty in some parts of the movie, so that's a pro. Sting does a good job being just this like brooding person. He gives a suitably toxic masculinity performance, I guess you could say. You know, you think at first he's kind of like our brooding Gothic hero, but he's actually a horrible person. So I think he did a great job with that. He doesn't have a lot of dialogue, which is probably for the best, because he's really good at the brooding looks and, you know, very Gothic. Get some cool cape scenes, some cool horse riding scenes. So that's nice. And then obviously the biggest pro though is that the other storyline is really sweet and wholesome and enjoyable, even if sad. So cons being the dialogue is not great. There's two separate movies that just got thrown in together in a blender and released as one. The tones make no sense against each other. The end is very weird and sudden. So yeah, that's my review of 1985's The Bride, since I know you were waiting for that one. And then Crimson Peak. So where The Bride couldn't kind of figure out which story and which tone and whatever that it wanted to do, Crimson Peak was very very good at just like having it be the same feeling for the whole time. It had plenty of continuity. There was no like switch in tone. It had some good creepy ghosts. They were right at the level where the first time I saw it I was definitely scared. This time I wasn't scared, I was just like kind of grossed out, but I've seen it a few times, so you know, I could handle it. That's saying a lot since I am a huge chicken about scary movies. So but if you are really sensitive to scary stuff and gory stuff, there are definitely a few parts that are rough. There is definitely blood and some ghosts, so just be aware of that. But this movie, again, had not a lot of dialogue. It was definitely more of the Gothic brooding. The dialogue that there was, I have to admit, was not great. It was a little rough. You have actors in this movie who are incredible, who usually give such good performances. So it's definitely, I feel like, more of a script thing than an acting thing, because you got Jessica Chastain. She gives, you know, 100% to everything that she does. But in this particular movie, I found a lot of her dialogue to be a little unrealistic. I thought it was a little bit too pretentious and stylized for the way a real person would talk, even in a Gothic movie. So same thing with the main character, although I will say Tom Hiddleston, I don't know if it was just that he's so good at playing those kind of characters at this point, or we associate him with those characters at this point, or if he like kind of tweaked his dialogue a little, but I feel like he was the only one of them that always felt more realistic when he was delivering this kind of stylized dialogue. There were some really fascinating things I had missed the first time I saw it. Just like small things about the sets, which the sets are beautiful. The sets are absolutely gorgeous. The set design, costumes, all that stuff, perfect. You have, like I said, some good performances, as good as you can with given the script. It's definitely more about the performances that are just in the face though. Like there's a scene where Tom Hiddleston's character and his new wife are in the attic, like his workspace in the attic, and he shows her something that he made, and his face just kind of goes from like smiling to really sad and mournful in seconds, and it was beautiful. I've noticed that scene before, but this time I really noticed it. It was so well done. It was beautifully acted. I felt like that scene right there shows what an impressive actor he is at just simple body language kind of things. So that scene I definitely liked a lot, again, you know, watching it this time. Same thing with Jessica Chastain. She was able to, I feel like, give us a lot more with like her body language and her facial expressions than the dialogue. In fact, I kind of at sometimes felt like you should just mute the dialogue, don't even listen to it, just watch the movie, and you'd almost be more impressed and enjoy it more. But yeah, Jessica Chastain's performance, she had, and I know that I've read that she helped to like add, you know, some elements to her character that weren't there before, and I noticed more this time how that came out. There's definitely a sense of manipulation in her relationship with her brother. You know, they're the only two people they have in the world, but she's also kept it that way. Like, he's a grown man, he could have had other people in his life, and so could she, really, but she kept it that way for a reason, because she wanted to control him and because she needs him, and he similarly will just keep doing these things because he's so dependent on his sister. Weird codependent family dynamic, but very interesting. I think, again, the body language and the facial expressions and all that expressed so much more than what the dialogue did, and you can fill in a lot of stuff between the lines on your own from that. Let's see, what else did I think about Crimson Peak? Sons of Anarchy guy, he's, you know, he's great. Normally, he's great. But in this movie, he was completely unnecessary, and that was something I noticed this time. Like, I had always kind of noticed that, but I really noticed it this time. If you had removed his character from the story, it really wouldn't have changed anything at all. So, as much as it's cool to have him in a movie, because he's cool, he was completely unnecessary in the script. In fact, he was kind of like dead weight, literally, toward the end. So, but as a Gothic movie goes, and for the overall look and feel, if you want to have a good, spooky, but not too scary Gothic movie, I would rate this one as like an 8 out of 10, just because, again, the dialogue could have been better, and some of the story choices could have been better. Is it Guillermo del Toro's best movie? No, definitely not. Is it his worst movie? No, I wouldn't say so, because Pacific Rim 2 exists. I don't even know if he made that. I don't think he even directed that. I don't know what he had to do with that. He probably just like signed off on it. That was so disappointing. But I'll talk about that in a different video, maybe, about Pacific Rim 1, an absolutely perfect movie, and Pacific Rim 2, a movie that we just try not to talk about. So anyway, those are some Gothic movies that you should think about checking out if you want to watch some love to hate 'em Gothic movies that are actually completely unrelated to each other, but were just for some reason related to each other in my mind this week. So anyway, thank you for watching, guys. I appreciate it. I'm sorry it's been so long since I've updated. I'm gonna try to update more. I know I keep saying that, but I'm really gonna try. Yeah, hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you've been up to. How's your quarantine going? What are you doing to help move the world in the right direction? You know, all that kind of stuff. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next video.